Ghost of Ashton Villa. When my mom, my sister, and I were in Galveston for a vacation back in 1997, I wanted to visit the Ashton Villa, not for historical value, but for the ghost I had read about. We arrived late in the afternoon and took one of the last tours of the day. Only two other people, a woman and her teenage daughter, joined us and our guide. Now, let me explain a few things about the house. It was built in the 1800s and withstood a terrible hurricane that nearly destroyed the island. It sits almost in the middle of the town, actually in a bad part of town today. So the house is kept locked, and only one set of keys exists for the tours. Only one group of people is allowed in the house at a time, and the doors are locked behind them when they enter. The house was freezing when we walked in the door. "That's just a ghost," our guide said teasingly. I had told her I was interested in the paranormal. It took some prodding on my part, but after a while she told me little things, like stuff they would find out of place, or how the clock was broken. It would change time. The rooms of the house are set up to look like they did when the family lived there. We were looking at the upstairs sewing room when I heard a crash. It sounded like a door had slammed. Everyone froze. But I spun around to see what the noise was. The frosted glass in the old veranda doors was vibrating, and through the glass I spotted a man in a suit with short brown hair. Then he was gone. Our guide, meanwhile, looked white as a sheet and in a small voice said, "I heard that too." We continued on, looking at the other rooms. Now the guide was very open to talking about anything. Paranormal in the house? Considering our little run-in, we got to talking about the children that the couple had. They had two girls, Emily and Betty, and a boy, Charles. Charles committed suicide when he was 21. He was wearing a suit when they found him. He showed us a family picture, and I flipped out. Charles was the guy I had seen behind the frosted glass. We finished up the tour in the ballroom, and the guide showed me a very interesting picture. It showed a maid in the room. She said they used it as a guide to recreate the room's decor for the time period. But above the maid in the old photograph was the disembodied head of a man. There was no way it was a trick. It was just there, floating in the air above the woman. The guide said the attic was full of at least 36 pictures with the same disembodied head in them. I believe I caught a glimpse of Charles. No one else was in the house at the time, and where I saw him, would be impossible for any actual human to stand. I never really believed in ghosts until that day, but it goes to show you, you never know unless you go through it yourself.